What's going on, everyone? Welcome back on BlockGems. Today I want to talk about DECENTRALAND and specifically about how can parcels of land from the Decentraland gaming universe command such a high price. Now, before we go ahead and jump into the content, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. It really helps me a lot keep the content coming. So I wanted to start discussing this topic directly from the price levels. So I literally just wanted to go ahead and show you guys what are the price levels on the secondary market, in this case on OpenSea, if you want to buy now a plot of land in this project, in this space. So today you would have to fork on 6,200 mana, which in old money is about 3 Ether at the price, the current exchange today at the time of recording. And we can see that 3 Ether is a rather interesting figure if we compare it with other other projects that have a similar objective and a similar scope. However, these kind of comparisons that we will draw today are super risky, super complicated to make because, as mentioned in several of my previous videos, every project is different. Every project wants to provide a different type of utility to users and players, and also the map sizes the map dimensions are completely different. And so drawing these comparisons is particularly hard because we might end up not making an apple-to-apple comparison. However, just as a starting point to reason from, we can see that a plot of land in Decentraland starts today at 3 Ether, and when we compare it with the Sandbox, we see completely different price. When we compare it with Mirandos, this is 0.9 Ether today. When we compare it with Axie Infinity, we see that the most remote and desolate plot in the savannah is at 0.9 Ether. So there must be something, or at least this is what we're trying to reason about. There must be something that is driving the price of the Decentraland parcels so high or much higher than other projects that have a similar objective. So one of the first topics that I wanted to discuss was the topic of map dimension. So in Decentraland, you have 90,000 parcels in this city called the Genesis City, and that's it. If we compare that with environments such as the Sandbox, where you have 166,000, you already see that there is a difference in terms of scarcity of land. Also, the dimension of the plot itself is really almost uncomparable because here we're talking about a 16 by 16 meters, and in the Sandbox, for instance, you're looking at almost an hectare in terms of surface for one given plot. But map dimension doesn't tell us much in itself. Why? Simply because if, for instance, tomorrow I want to create my own game and I create a super small map with only 4 plots of land, 10 by 10, does it mean that that is valued at something? Does it mean that that is worth something? Of course it doesn't, because it's all about the utility that the users will take out of that environment. And that will be reflected in the price of the land that composes that map, that composes that game. So this is just to provide an indication, but what we really have to discuss as a second step is the utility that is on Decentraland compared to other projects. So one of the most interesting features about Decentraland is indeed all these things that you can do in this gaming universe. For instance, I will not go now into a sort of mini review of Decentraland because that is for another video, but what I find extremely interesting is all these events that they're coming up in the recent weeks. There are exhibitions for NFTs, there are concerts, there are live events of all sorts of kind, there are gatherings that are taking place, and these are extremely accessible because you just need a MetaMask wallet and you can literally get started. It's very accessible also because everything runs in the browser. And this is something that other projects don't have, maybe not because they don't want to get there, but because they're not at the same level of maturity that Decentraland has. And again, there are so many activities which are not worthy, but I will not go and discuss all the things you can do, including what you can build, what the scenes that you can put on land and all that. That is for another video. But in general, the level of utility when compared to other gaming universes is particularly high, I must say, in terms of things that you can do as a user, as a player. Now, there is also another aspect that I consider particularly important. The fact that they have partnered up with Polygon recently in order to reduce the gas fees that they were incurring into while using Ethereum. And if you guys haven't been sleeping under a rock recently, you know that the gas fees on the Ethereum network have been really, really high and made many transactions anti-economical. Now with Polygon, transactions on the Decentraland are much smoother because they're much cheaper. Transaction prices, transaction costs are much cheaper. So you can play games that require feed. You can play in the casino with a low fee compared to what you would be able to do without this settlement system. And this is super important and adds value to the entire environment, to the entire project. Another aspect that I wanted to discuss and could be absolutely key to understanding why there is this such a dramatic price difference is the fact that in terms of users, we see that Decentraland stands at, I hope this is big enough, guys, stands at about 1,000 on a given day, and there have been also peaks at much higher points. And if you compare it with projects that have been around for, and I cannot say exactly the same amount of time, but for multiple years, for instance, projects such as Axie Infinity, we can see that Axie Infinity is not even close to that number, and that other projects that are much more recent, such as the Sandbox, are not even in the radar. Probably this is not even a fair comparison for a number of reasons that I mentioned before, because it is the interaction mechanisms are also very, very different. However, it does give us a very rough, a very crude indication of what is going on in terms of user base on the different platforms. Now, with that being said, guys, do I say that, and do I believe that the Decentraland plot of land is priced fairly as of today? Well, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it's undervalued, I'm not saying it's overvalued, but what I'm saying is that the market is telling us something that at least directionally, at least in terms of ranking, is correct, because as of today, Decentraland, with all the problems that it has, which I will discuss in a separate video, but despite all the problems that it has, still is the environment that presents the highest amount of utility for players and users, and this is reflected in the price of the land that composes that environment. With that being said, guys, I hope that this video was useful to you to make your own research. Please do not understand any of this as an investment advice. Make your own research. And if this content has been useful to you, remember to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. See you in the next video.